All right. You will receive the recording later through your email, and we upload that. We upload our recording both to our website and to YouTube. So you will receive a copy of recording after the event, normally on Monday when we summarize the event and organize the email. Now, let's continue with our event today. Video about L5M1 and more specifically, not just about the knowledge, but about how to prepare for the exam. This could be a lesson for preparing the C exam in general. And as I can see, and from several study groups, I can see that their candidates, their students tend to face unique challenges. They tend to struggle to grasp with a lot of knowledge from study guide. And normally, as you know, CR study guide tend to be longer. So it could drive some challenges for the students and it may make you like so defeated, so exhausted when preparing for this kind of exam. There are several reasons making C exam more generally, we may feel more challenging than our exam. First, CR study guide tends to be longer. It normally has 4 chapters rather than 3 in other modules. And the length of the study guide may goes beyond 300 pages. That would include a lot of information that we could not fully understand or grasp, especially when most Cips students are part-time and we may not be well prepared for this kind of exam. Second, when it comes to CR, normally people may feel it's a little bit difficult because it requires you not just to understand the question theme, not just to remember the information like about the author's five process or product life cycle or about SQL analysis, but you need to apply it. And there's framework for this one. There's a framework for this one. This is known as Bloom taxonomy. This is how the instructors, how worldwide teachers categorize their students and categorize the knowledge for the student. So according to this scale, there are 6 levels of understanding or 6 levels of skills regarding some subject matter. So at the lowest level, we have remember, just retain information, and then understand the meaning only, then apply to use the existing knowledge to the new context. At best, the ORM just test you with apply. They just require you to apply what you already know to the context and to scenario and ask you select the best option. But with CR, you need to analyze the matter. You need to evaluate it and you need to craft and to be creative a new method or an answer or an aspect. And although SIP doesn't express that explicitly, but of course, you need to make your answer coherent and address the right question. So, since it requires higher level of cognitive skills, therefore, it may make us like feel quite overwhelmed by this type of CI step. And as you may feel, before then, you often feel like anxious, a very great sense of anxiety, and unsure about what may come in the exam. With F1, it even creates a new level challenge since its style, especially from Saigai, it emphasizes on the use of several theoretical framework, and you need to refer to the uh, sub to some theory and to the contributor. Like when you talk about human relations theory about measurement. Then you need to mention about Douglas. You need to mention about Hawthorne experiment. You need to mention about the um, Mary Tucker Pollitt if opinion about human relation and Maslow hierarchy of needs in human relation. So you need to connect different parts together. Furthermore, you need to refer to the right contributor and their thought. So it makes L5M1 very dense in information, and you need and this model may require a lot of memorization. The thing is, how we can overcome these challenges. I think that to prepare for the exam most comprehensively, then you need to do that before the exam and during the exam. So for each period, then we may have different approaches. Uh, while you are studying for the exam, then the main objective here is to memorize and understand and possibly apply the knowledge to the context or to different questions. But during the exam, then your main objective you need to focus on that is to provide a specific answer to each question. But it must be done within a time frame. Therefore, under each period, you need to approach in a different way. Now, first, let's look at how we can prepare before the exam, how you can study for the exam. When you are preparing for the exam, then there is a tendency. I think that most students do. What most students do is to just read book. This is the most passive way of study. So I don't say that we don't read the book. Of course, we need to read. Of course, we need to read the book, but we also need to apply other more proactive way of learning. And here I offer you four tools. First, we have the mind map. Second, we have the flashcard. Third, reflection, and fourth, the practice questions. These four tools, especially when you like the time for say for the exam, then these four tools will be even more helpful because the less time you have, then the more proactive you need to be. So even 20 minutes of flashcard or mind map is much better than only 20 minutes of reading. So you need to be more proactive and use your time more efficiently with different tools. Still, when I mention these things, then many students ask me what is the mind map or what is flashcard. Actually, they are not complex. They are doable. They are something that you can do at home with mind map. You can do it with a pen and a piece of paper. It is just a diagram of connection between different ideas. We break the general ideas into smaller parts and develop the details. It develops like a tree. It first it has a trunk, and then it develops into branches. Then it develops into the leaves and the fruits. So for each branch, then you can connect the idea. For example, when you study for motivation theory in chapter 2 of L5M1, then you can branch it into different ways. First, you may look for the information about the definition. Then you can ask yourself what is motivation and how it can help in terms of efficiency, productivity, and the connection between motivation, satisfaction, and the role of motivation in managing individual. Okay, connect to the whole chapter 5. And then you can go into different theories regarding motivation. We have the content theory and the process theory. The process theory here can be divided further into expectancy theory from Bloom. or equity theory, and goal or attainment theory. So under each theory, then you can branch out like who are the authors, what are their main ideas, and how managers can apply the theory in their job and how they can motivate the employee. So by branching out like that, then you can create your own version of the study guide. It is much more helpful than just reading study guide. If you just read study guide, you may entail in a very complex details uh, of the book. Like they may have some case study, they may have some irrelevant information, and that may confuse you. But by using a mind map, you can clear your mind and learn the matter much easier. But mind map only help you with grasping the greatest idea, the general idea, and try to break it down into smaller parts. If you want to learn by heart or you want to improve your memory, then you need to practice with flashcards. Normally, a flashcard has two sides. One side poses the question and the other side shows the answer. So when a random card appears, then you can see the questions. Then you need to answer that. And you flip the card, you see the answer. If you answer that question correctly, then okay, you can tick and finish your and move on with other card or move on with other card. But if you answer wrong, then you need to mix up again and you need to review that card. So with spaced repetition, like you can practice flashcard 2 times a week, twice a week. Then you can fortify, you can strengthen your memory and even make your memory about that subject matter even more persistent and apply it may remain permanently in your brain. Okay, so flashcard is a very great way to memorize the complex or to memorize simple question and answer framework. Mind map works in one way, flashcard works in another way. But you still need to have some reflection. Your understanding of that part of that theory of that part of study guide could not correct yet, could not be correct yet. So you may need to ask other people, or you may try to answer the question from the book, from the question you write by yourself, from a tutor or instructor, or from other classmates. It is the best that you have some friends in study with you. So they may write some questions, and by answering their questions, you may have some reflection on how well you are doing regarding this subject and how you can improve. This is a very and particularly helpful exercise since it can help you to identify the weakness and the potential areas for improvement. Finally, some deliberate practice may help you as well. So as you can see, you can see a lot of practice questions on some website like Udemy and my own set on that website. So if you see that question and you want to be more proactive, then you can look at the question and then spare your time and set a timer to 45 minutes and start to answer the question without using any tools. And then after finishing answering that, you can submit your answer for review. You can submit it to your tutor, instructor, classmate, or nowadays we have AI, so they can help you to review that part, review that answer. But but during during the writing, then you need to do it by yourself. By if you don't do it by yourself and you rely on external tools like search engine or AI, then you may lose your skill in writing. So AI is very helpful in customized, personalized study, but you need to do it wisely. You need to use it wisely. You can practice with the question within 45 minutes and then submit your answer to AI and ask it to make a comment on your performance. And then based on the feedback, then you can work and compensate your weakness. So this is even better use of AI. These tools are usable when you prepare for the exam. And during the exam, then there are other challenges. And here are some common mistakes that most students may have while they are doing the exam. So the thing is, even some prevalent students still have the same mistake. The most common one is not distribute the time evenly across the questions. The thing is, some students may see the first or second question to be less challenging. They are easy. So they may be too excited and commit themselves to those questions first and spend too much time on those questions. That will lead to lower performance and less time for other questions. So for the exam, then you need to have a strategy for time management. With 180 minutes for the whole exam with 4 questions, then approximately you have 45 minutes per question. So you need to look at the clock regularly and spend your time wisely when you are doing the exam. Don't overuse or don't overspend your time on a single question. It doesn't work that. Each question has the same value, just 25 points over 100. So you need to spend the time equally. Second, without making any outline, then your answer to the question could lack the coherence, and therefore it may attract lower score. Of course, anyone, and even you want to read some current essay. The same applies to Cips assessor. So you need to provide consistent and current answer. To do that, then before you write that, then you need to make an outline, make it more structured and more predictable, and make it looks like you are professional, not just in procurement, but also in communication. Remember that writing is just one way of communication. Another challenge during the exam is writer block. Normally, this would indicate about the author, about the literature class when they try to craft some novel, some short story, but they feel like they cannot overcome their own block and they don't feel any inspiration and they don't know what to write next. The same thing can happen to students in the exam room. Some students say that they don't know what to write when it comes to certain topic because they haven't looked at it yet, or they may feel like it has too little information about that topic and they don't know what to write next, or even if they know much, but they don't know how to arrange that and how to give the answer. So to overcome this type of block, then to break it, then there are two ways. First is just to write anything your brain comes up with. Okay, just write the first thing your brain is giving out. With computer-based exam, it is pretty easy because you're just typing. And if you feel it's wrong grammatically, or it has a typo, or it sounds silly, then you can just delete it and replace with a more and better sentence. So By the way, then you keep the flow from your brain continuously and don't disrupt that. Disruption in the mental flow could create the block. So by doing that, then you can continue flow. Another way to overcome the block is to write the questions about the things that you are writing. For example, you are writing about the motivation theory, then you can write some questions like, what is content theory? Who produced content theory? What is the main idea of content theory? When content theory are suggested, and how can manager apply content theory in their work? Or how content theory explain about motivation? Or whether the motivation created from content theory are sustainable, whether it is persistent or it is just temporary, etc. So by raising several questions around that subject matter, then you can continue your essay and overcome the writer's block. Another mistake, and I think this is a grave one, is writing off top. It means that the student here doesn't understand the subject matter of the question and completely stray off from the question. So it often occurs when a student doesn't understand what the question is talking about. So the thing is, before the exam, you need to look at every possible topic from study guide by looking at its syllabus, looking at its table of content, right? And imagine every possible topic. By the way, then you are not caught off guard when it comes to a new question, and we can put off we can eliminate the risk of conflict. Another way is to read the question carefully. Read the question with the common word carefully. Even if you don't understand it, just read it again and try to reframe it in other way. If the question asks about scientific measurement, okay, so you can reframe it. Then whether it is asking about Frederick Taylor theory or whether it is asking about theory X of Douglas. So by the way, then you make it more specific and approachable and avoid the risk of off topic. And another common mistake here is the lack of example or the lack of reference to the exam question, to the scenario. Here, as you can see, Steve often appreciate an answer with examples or an answer with the reference to a scenario. So for every point of your answer, write, you should refer to your own real world example. If you don't have any real world example, just create it, no matter, because they don't check the authenticity of that example. Or if the question has a scenario, then you need to refer to the scenario details. Of course, some students ask me like whether they can include a comprehensive example after they present the idea. It is doable as as long as in your answer you already include the example, right? So in your exam, spare your time to write about the example. So to overcome these mistakes, then I think that there are a few strategies that you can employ. First, remember to arrive early. Being early at the exam may reduce your anxiety because you have more time to prepare. And by staying with the invigilator, you don't fear for any risk regarding the exam, like missing some documents or logging with the wrong password. So arriving early will have some psychological effect, and it doesn't affect your mental or your mental ability when you are writing the exam. Okay, so really very easy to do, but you need to do it more. Okay, so my advice here is to arrive at the exam venue about 30 minutes before the start time, or at least 20 minutes. Don't arrive later. Second, then you need to be aware of the time. In the exam, even whether you have a watch or a clock or not, then there's a small countdown timer at the top right of the exam screen. So you need to look at that just as frequently as you do when you are driving a car. When you are driving a car, then occasionally you need to look at your mirror, checking your left, checking the right, checking the behind, just occasionally. The same thing applies here. You need to look at the time as you are checking the mirror when you are driving. Okay, so you are beware of time, and you know when you should finish a question and move on to the next question. Without this awareness, then you may overspend your time on one question and miss the opportunity to improve the other question. Third, very important, before um, provide the details to your answer, then you need to do an outline. You need to create an outline. An outline will make your answer more clearly and more currently. Um, with computer-based exam, Cips applies computer-based exam since 2019, and nowadays I see that there's no more paper-based exam. So with such exam, then it is easier for you to do the outline right from the exam screen. You don't need to write down on the draft or on any paper, so you can just put the bullet point directly in the answer sheet or answer box. And then after each point, you can develop your details later. It is much easier. And if you feel something is wrong, just delete the line. It's very simple. So the technology here already have us a hand, because you don't need to replicate the outline from the draft paper to the exam sheet. You just need to drafting right from the answer sheet. So much easier now. But the thing is, many students don't have the habit of outlining. I advise you to change it. It is very important. And my next question, today's question, will be about how to create an outline within a time frame. To be precise, 10 minutes only. Next, when you have the writer block, as I said, there are two ways to overcome this. First is just to continue your writing. Okay, whatever comes off your mind at that moment, or you can write the question for what you're writing right at the time to create more idea and keep your flow continuous. And always remember to strengthen your points with examples or reference to the scenario. Right. So I think it is enough for you to understand about some facts when you are when you when you are writing the text. Now I think that we should have some time for practice, and of course we shall have a small prize for today's question. Um, Here you will have a task. You need to develop an outline for this question within 10 minutes. Okay, you can see that it has a very long scenario, and you need to create the outline for this particular question. Video question number 3 about team management. And you have 10 minutes to complete this outline. And based on your answer, we assess that based on the answer that you submit through the chat. Okay, just type down your answer in the chat, and um, we may assess that. We can see how comprehensive it is and how detailed it is. And depending on the answer, then we may award the prize for the most comprehensive and detailed outline. That the student with that outline will be rewarded with two, not one, but two free practice questions from our collection. All right. So I think that I need to start the time now. Start the time now. And I will start a countdown timer on my phone. Okay, you will hear the alarm when the timer is up. You have 10 minutes. And I'm waiting for the answer. You know that, as you know, then if you win this task, then you have the chance of getting two free lifetime access practice questions. So try your best. Remember that by doing this task, you have a chance of getting two free lifetime access practice tests, not just one, but two. So do it as quick as possible. And I think that 4 minutes uh, fast. I see no answer here. You need to type down in the chat. Okay, we access from the chat in Zoom. Only 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. I only see one simple answer from Pamela. Remember that you have a chance of winning 2 practice tests, not one. Two minutes and 10 seconds left. Right now, I see the answer from A. Sorry, you only put your name as A. I'm unable to tell who you are. And Rose M. 45 seconds. All right, time's up. Yeah, sorry. I set my phone to silent so you can hear any hour. But time's up. Now I need to close this question and I accept no further answer here. Now let's see the answer. Okay, let me show you. Let me show you the answer from different students. Right, a little bit here. Okay, so far I received several answers from Pamela, Amania, Rose M. Okay, Pamela again, maybe just improving her previous point. Nikita, Dini, Chalen, Cindy, and Ote, and also Sifasuke. Okay, it's pretty long. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly. Sorry. All right. So as you can see, when you put an outline to this question, I see that it takes you like almost 10 minutes. And for some students, they only provide 4 points only. The thing is, first, when we see such long question like that, then our first instinct is our first urge is to read the question from the top to the bottom. This is unnecessary. As you can see, the whole first paragraph is unnecessary. It is just to put everything into a context, and it doesn't provide anything in particular for the answer. It doesn't provide information, any information about the team and the team development or the team effectiveness. Okay, just a context about a new manager, nothing. So we can the strategy here. And to avoid time wasting on reading scenario here is to read the question with the common word. So this is a question with access. Therefore, you need to identify the 4 features or 4 characteristics of effective teams. And you need to refer it to a well-recognized theory. You can open the book for this one as I present the way you can approach this question. So, characteristics of a team of effective teamwork is a subsection of chapter 3 in L5M1. And you can clearly see it. It has theoretical framework for that. They suggest a few ways, but you may need to only refer to one. Okay, it's not necessary to refer everything. And here they limit the answer to 4 characteristics only. And with the outline, I expect that you can refer to some relevant theory, right? But most answer here, and actually every answer here, only calculate effort and respond to the problems in scenario, right? Something like about proper communication, um, listen to individual grievance, open communication again, or learning development opportunities, strong effective, etc. So what I expect from an outline is how you devise the answer, okay, or how you plan for your answer. You must plan for an introduction. You must plan for the main point or for the body. Within the body, then you may plan for the assessment for each point, like for this particular point, then how you can tell me about open communication, and how you can tell me about the how you can tell me about how to develop a right kind of leadership, or how to um, resolve, or how to solve the dispute within a team. And furthermore, there is also an extra point if you can refer to the relevant theory or theoretical framework. Overall, with every answer here, I feel most impressed with the answer from Ginny. So she's showing about the composition, not just including the four characteristics, but also about how to approach the question and how she can develop the answer in details. So for this question, I am particularly impressed by Dini answer, and she will be the winner of today's competition. Now, let me show you how I might approach to this question. So this is my own outline, and I try to read it within very short time frame. I may do it like apply within 5 minutes. The thing is, I may not just plan for the body, but I also have an introduction, and then I may have the body with the application of IPO model. You can look at the book for this model. This is input, process, output model. Um, I don't remember the author. I don't remember the contributor, but this is a particularly helpful model. And instead of just suggesting the characteristics based on the system from the scenario here, you can actively generate the answer using the theory that you know. So with the input, then it has the team composition, the support from the organization or the team skills. So I see this team has the skill. They have good academic qualification, but lack procurement skill, and they lack the training. So to improve this team effectiveness, then we can try to improve their skill. With the process, I see that there are two there are two methods. First, about communication. This shows through the lack of consultation and lack of sufficient communication. Most communication in this scenario is top down, and no channel or no mechanism for the feedback. So they can improve the communication as part of teamwork process. And the second process is leadership, or you can replace with the conflict resolution. So the scenario showed that there's a lack of leadership, and it also showed that the team members lack the guidance, lack specific guidance. Therefore, this may hinder the team performance. And through right leadership, like through empowerment, through more autonomy, then they can improve the team performance. Right. So that is the way how I can develop my answer further. And with the outcome, then uh, it is about the outcome of the work itself and the satisfaction of the employee, and the also the opportunity for growth, and about the personal growth as well. Since in the scenario, it is about the lack of opportunity for growth. It can undermine the motivation, and it doesn't produce any outcome that align with each member individual motivation, and it may hinder the teamwork as well. So an effective teamwork must also be able to deliver the growth, not just for the organization, but the growth for each individual. So as you can see, when we apply ICL model, we can be less reliant on the scenario and spend less time on reading unnecessary passages. But we can have more time on analyzing the symptom and suggesting the solution. Right. By the way, that you can improve the length of your answer and make it more impressive. Anyway, um, I need to say congratulations to Dini as the most detailed and comprehensive answer that I see um, from every answer here. Okay, so Dini, can you wait until the end of this event so I can ask you what kind or what task you want? Right. Now, let me move on with other parts, with other questions regarding the exam. So, as you can see, um, there are some frequently asked questions about CI exam in general. Some students ask me about the appropriate length for an answer, and they aim at, they want to aim at some specific number, like the number of words or number of lines. Or they may ask me for any suggestion, any prediction for the future exam. Or they may ask me about the time that they should spend on study. So I will address that one by one. And if you have any further any further question, please put it in the chat and I may answer that. First, with the length of the answer. It depends on your writing skill. As long as you can provide the answer within the time frame, then it is good enough. But if you can, actually, you can improve your writing skill, both in the writing speed and in idea generation. For me, within 45 minutes, I can produce a 600 to 700 essay, 600 to 700 word essay. Okay, if I focus on my own effort, then I can produce this length. Sometimes for my students, they don't practice regularly with the computer. They may struggle with typing, so the typing speed could be slower. But anyway, then using an outline will help you to compensate for your speed. By having an outline, then you can include every point. And even if you don't have enough time to fill out every detail, then at least the assessor knows that you have a direction or you have some tendency or some intent for some intention for other parts. So they may appreciate that and give you some extra points. Second, with the length of the answer, it also depends on the common word. Some common words like outline, list, or calculate in L5M1, then you don't need to provide very long answer. You just need to provide the details. Oh, sorry, you just need to provide the result. So with calculate, then you need to do the calculation on the calculator with the calculator on the exam screen. So it may take time, and therefore the length here may be affected. You don't have enough time to explain everything around that calculation. Just provide the result. Okay, that's fine. But with other kind of common words like analyze, describe, explain, evaluate, assess, or suggest, then of course they encourage long answers, and the more you can produce, the better. Of course, they need to be correct, not just unstructured words or some rambling, some word generation, but they need to be to the point. They need to be on topic, and they need to be correct. That is even not less important than the length itself. So you need to improve. Generally, I can call it the writing skill, and I think that many students need to improve that. Second, whether I should provide any suggestion for the future exam. There is a danger in predicting the potential questions, right? Because the question appear readily. So if I suggest anything, or if you listen to any instructor about potential questions, then you may risk cram study, or you may risk cramming for the exam. And if the question doesn't appear as you expect, then you miss other parts, and that is very dangerous. You may risk failing a question or even failing an exam. So you need to study comprehensively and don't overlook any topic, right? So don't hope for any miracle, but you need to study comprehensively, study every possible topic, right? And within a CI exam like L5M1, I may summarize that it has around about 20 to 30 topics. Okay, it may go around like that. And sometimes it could be quite predictable, but sometimes it's not predictable. Even when you see more challenging questions that you never see from study guide or you don't have the chance to look at that, then rely on your own experience. Then you can still generate some suggestions. Even some words or some bullet points in the exam is better than nothing at all. So just try your best to study everything possible and provide the answer whenever possible. And finally, with the study time, I know that most students that who are joining this event are part-time study. They study part-time only. So they may lack the time between study and other duties or obligations of the day, like like parenting, like working, okay, or any other commitment. Therefore, I understand that the lack of time is chronic and it is unable to allocate more time for study. But when you have less time, then you need to value it more. So in the very little time you have for study, you need to make it more valuable and more effective by using more proactive activities, more proactive tools, not just reading the book, okay, not just passively reading the book. Here, then even 20 minutes to create a mind map or 20 minutes practice with the flashcard is much better than reading the book only. Or 20 minutes to reflect on what you already know from the study guide or what you don't know yet from study guide. Okay, so the less time you have, the more valuable the time becomes, and the more proactive you need to be. Okay, so this is the advice. Now, I may leave the space for you as you may have more questions for me. So if you have any questions, please type down in the chat, or I may even allow you to unmute yourself. Okay, I may allow you to unmute and don't need to wait for my permission. All right. So anyone who has any questions regarding L5M1 and other exams, other C exams, just feel free to write your voice.
Hi, Daniel.
Yes, I'm listening.
Yeah, about the rest of the theory. Let me say, if I forgot that the name of the person who wrote the theory, can I just go into details and say there was a theory that in regards to motivation that consider the hygiene factors and the motivation factors, even though I am not sure if it's Hesberg or Maslow. Will I get the marks for that, even if I didn't mention the name? That's all I wanted.
You still get the point for that. The thing is, with motivation, then it should be looked from different perspectives. Therefore, it is important that you can refer from different perspectives, majorly with content and process theory. And if actually, if you can write the name of the author or the name of the contributor, it it would be better. But if you don't remember, then it's fine. You still get the point for everything that you have written. They don't give you any penalty when you don't mention the contributor. But if you can mention, then it will be some extra score, right? But if you don't, then okay, just ignore that. The important here is to understand different perspectives about some matter, like about motivation or about effective team. Okay, thank you very much, Dini, for your question.
Yes, thank you, Daniel. My question is, if they ask for 4 characteristics of an effective teamwork, and I mentioned the 4, but give, let's say, 6, and probably out of the first 4, one of them is wrong, does my mark go to the 5th point, or when they mention 4, it's strictly 4 points?
They still mark your answer based on your point, and the extra point will not be considered. So if you mention more than 4, then the downside is that you cannot focus on your main point, and it may be quite spread out, and you don't focus on the correct point. So they may, in the assessment, then they look at the answer comprehensively. They mark whenever, kind of like whenever they see a correct point, and whenever they see that you have the reference to scenario or you have an example, then you give they give you some points. And when they see some mistake, then they don't give you any penalty, but they just ignore that. So for the whole answer, then they just add up the correct points that you have provided. And when the question has some specific number of the answer or specific number of the idea, then they only mark the one. They only mark the one. They only mark the correct one, and for the rest, then they just ignore that. You don't get any extra score, but you don't get any penalty. So throughout the answer, then you just they only add the point for any correct point, for any correct idea that you provide, and generally the exam provide no penalty. The assessor provide no penalty for the student. Okay. Right. That's how I address your question, Pamela. Now, is there any further question?
Yes, I have another question. Now, so I think some of us understand what the outline meant. So when you were asking us to outline that question that you gave us, of course, I've seen how it was. You expected someone to give you the introduction, define what that is, outline the major points, and come up with a conclusion. What I'm asking, that outline is what we keep coming back to build on, right? For example, if it was that question, let me just see the question. For example,
Okay,
that question that we are just from doing, that asked for 4 characteristics of an effective team. The way you are
right.
saying an approach would be to outline is you're basically saying you state the introduction, mention your points, and conclude. Then you keep coming back building on those.
Yes, throughout the exam, of course, you can rethink about your approach and you can adjust that. And of course, when you still have time, you can reread the answer and adjust or make some correct points about that. So it is not fixed. And with the outline, it is a good practice to have an introduction, the body with the main points and a conclusion. But sometimes I just ignore the conclusion and I only do conclusion when I feel like I still have time. Normally, The conclusion may start with some word like in summary or in conclusion, the teamwork require a lot of effort and a lot of factors to be successful. So the organization should design a way for it to be successful. Okay, something like that. So it is the best that you can develop an outline before providing the details. And the more specific, the more detailed line you can develop, then the better. Because even if you don't have enough time to fill out the details, then you know what to do next and avoid the writer block. Furthermore, at least the assessor, you still have the intention to finish this question, and they still give you some extra points for everything you have written in the answer sheet. All right, I hope that my answer.
Yes. That has answered. Thank you. That has answered. I think it actually saves you in case you fail to balance your time well, you have at least tackled every question. Yes, thank you.
Right. Okay. You're welcome, Pamela. Now, is there any further question? All right. Now, if you don't have any further question, I may ask Dini, can you suggest what kind of test do you like? Because as you win this contest, then you may have the access to 2 practice tests by your choice. Okay, can you suggest anything? Dini, are you there? Okay, she may be not here. Right. So I hope that through this event, normally I only provide the knowledge. Like I may present you the what could be the knowledge or what could be the answer for certain questions. But today I show you more about skill and how you can approach the exam more proactively rather than passively and ace the exam just at first attempt. So thank you very much for your participation, and it's our pleasure to have Cips students worldwide. You can support us, and you also it may provide you with more material for study. We have the practice question on internet, and you may apply the coupon code Momentum 35 on all caps, no space, Momentum 35 in the uh, coupon section on Udemy. So it may discount the price to just $9.99, and it is our best offer for this week. So if you have any further question for us, then just contact us on WhatsApp with number +84, that is our country code 387 301 575. Okay, or you can write us an email evocument@evocument.edu.ph. We open our inbox is always open for every student. Thank you very much for your participation today, and I hope that we can meet each other again in other events.
Thank you.